that's a whole other subject. MLB does terribly at marketing their star players.
Oh, yeah.
People from the East Coast see Mike Trout play maybe like, I don't know, 5 times a year, something like that when they go away. 6, maybe like 10 times a year. I don't know what it is. Because games are either played at 10 o'clock or they play them at home and you see them at normal times. You're not seeing I guarantee, I don't know, I can't say for you, but how many times have you seen Mike Trout play a baseball game? I know you're not.
0.
He's a Michael
I found
Jordan
out who he was. I found, coming from a casual, this is kind of the role that I lend to the podcast, is I'm the casual sports guy. I found out about Mike Trout, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Solely based off of like people saying like, oh, he's like the greatest baseball player ever. Right. I didn't know who he was before that. I never saw him play. I still haven't seen him play. I just know that he's just off of like knowing who Jeff Gordon is when you're like born, because you just know like, oh, Jeff Gordon, he's the most famous NASCAR, or he's the best, or whatever.
They're typical. They're like household names.
Right. That's the only reason why I know.
He's
Mike
like
point.
LeBron James now.
Right.
And
that's
he's like Michael Jordan.
Right.
Everyone
that's what I've learned.
across the world knew who Michael Jordan was and knows who LeBron James is.
Yeah.
People maybe know Mike Trout, maybe they don't. Maybe they've heard of him here and there, but I guarantee a high percentage of them haven't seen him play. Even on TV.
Right.
Well, I guess what you're getting at...
I don't want to dive into that because that's a whole other subject.
I could sum it up very simply if you want. The amount of people that have watched football and have seen Tom Brady play, 99% of all people that watch football, if not everybody guaranteed, has seen Tom Brady play. The amount of people that watch baseball and have seen Mike Trout, you're going to talk about what, maybe 40% of people over here that watch baseball? Like 10% of casual people? What I'm getting at is what the point is that those people don't get the same kind of exposure and aren't really exposed as much around where you actually get to see them play.
And that's even just like the channels. Like MLB won't, like it depends on what game you get on your
local.
It's
more based.
Right,
and that, as also coming from someone that's a big baseball
fan.
Shout
out r/MLB streams.
So, yeah, you got to see it. You got to see it.
Wait, hey, don't, hey, whoa.
That light got to see it.
I didn't see,
nothing.
I don't know what that website is. Sure.
You saw it
technically.
Yeah. My point is on top, like, I guess, like visually, they don't market their players. Like LeBron has a personality. Like him or hate him, you know of LeBron. Yeah. Like you get to hear him. You get to hear him. I've
never seen Mike Trout talk.
That's why I love I think I tweeted out and we've tweeted out on our Instagram, our Twitter. Mic'd up is such a great idea because you get in, like, hear, like, I honestly couldn't tell you what Jackie Bradley Jr. sounds like. I couldn't until in that game, even though it was the terrible mic'd up situation. Because
that was so funny.
Hey, how's your kid?
Whoever's doing the audio for that really needs to get that.
But
just fix it.
I didn't know, like, that made me kind of like connect with JBJ a little more.
You know,
I spot on impression, wasn't it?
He acts like everyone. It's just not. He has like everyone who his kid was or how their kid is. He seems like a sweet guy.
Like when they did that, they started doing this in spring training with Mookie like a couple years ago. Shout out Mookie.
Yeah.
They did it. They gave him a mic'd up situation in spring training.
Yeah.
They need to do more of that. They need to market their players more. Yeah. So now I don't fall in love maybe with the Angels, but I'm a fan of Mike Trout, and I get to appreciate
Get Mike Trout
greatness.
On Fallon more.
Get him on
something.
Get him on something.
That's one thing the NBA does really well, probably better than almost anywhere else, is letting their star players, really any of them, let them have their own personality, their own voice, and be prominent about it and really push it. And I know the NFL kind of does that, but really, you're talking about the MLB, they don't do any of that.
I'll tell you
what,
not
even close.
I may not watch I don't watch every NFL game each week. I watch a lot of them. I watch a Thursday night game. I probably watch 2 to 3 Sunday games.
Yep.
I'm always flipping on the NFL Network. It says go to Red Zone, and then I watch Monday night game. And even when it's on college football, I watch a lot of football during the fall. But one of the things I do watch religiously on Tuesday or Wednesday is Mic'd Up. I always watch the compilation of.
That was so cool with the XFL.
Right.
That's what we always
That's what we talked about with
Ty.
Ty.
Yeah.
So I know we got a little bit off on the tangent. I forget what my point was about that.
Yeah, we were talking about COVID like 25 minutes
25
ago or whatever.
I knew I didn't want to get into this because it's something I'm passionate about. But
that's fine. We got the time.
They need to do better in long short marketing their players. And that, I think, we talked about since the baseball's kind of dying, that will help. If people fall in love with players,
they're more apt to watch.
They're more apt to watch.
Look at me and Mookie.
You
Yeah,
like Mookie?
exactly.
I love Mookie, and I think because he seems like a charismatic and nice guy, and if they pushed him a little more and accentuated that, he'd be he is a star, but you know what I mean. He'd be the Rock of MLB.
Prime example right now are the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay, getting a massive new following of people just following because of Brady. And that's a prime example. And there's a lot of those. But when we look at MLB, like Mookie's like Mookie, Mike Trout, and a couple other guys. That's all you got, really. That they're like people that might follow. But imagine if they pushed these guys to the forefront like all the time and had them do stuff, did their own little segments, had their own funny little clips. Like if they really push social media, which why MLB doesn't, I don't know, because it's one of the perfect games ever to push funny like segments. Because baseball players are funny. Like I'm not saying other ones aren't, but there's a lot of moments in baseball.
The mascots have a lot of like funny content.
There's a lot of funny moments in downtime in baseball.
Let me ask this: it might just be a sense of the times, or maybe I was a kid or whatever. But I remember like the 2004 Red Sox, right? Yeah. I knew every player.
Same. Right.
I knew, and again, I don't know if this is just from being a kid and being more into it, or just having more time and just knowing the players, or what I'm getting at is if maybe back then there were more star like whatever, because I knew like Manny, Johnny Damon, David Ortiz, Jason Varitek. Like I knew the whole lineup. And again, I don't know if that's because of the time and I was a kid, or if it's more like
I think it's a bit of both,
they were actual stars. That's what I think.
I would say that 04 team, first of all, had probably the biggest personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Rival, like if you look at all the championship teams,
Yankees did too.
Yeah.
They did, but the Red Sox in 04 were like the goofballs. Like they were like they were like these bunch of, they said that was their nickname, the bunch of idiots. Like that was like
Bronson Arroyo was like making songs and stuff.
Yeah, he was singing on the side. Yeah. Johnny Damon had the Jesus hair and the beard. Manny was cutting off throws in left field. He was taking a bathroom break and left in the monster. Like there was like little things that were funny, like David Ortiz. There was more of a personality on that. Pedro, there was more personalities on that team. Plus, baseball was bigger then than it is now.
Okay.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt, 16 years ago, baseball was
quick math.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Wow.
16 years ago, it was more prominent in culture. Some may say even rivaling around the same as football.
Okay, that's basically what I was asking.
I would argue this is that back then, at least from what I can remember as being a kid, I saw a lot more baseball players on TV and being interviewed and doing stuff than football at the time. Mm-hmm. And now it's at the point where it's NBA and football more.
And I tend to think, like when I relate to that, I think if you look at it, I mean, they did have 2 world championships, but
think about it. There were some that
the Patriots weren't as prominent as they are now. They weren't the dynasty. The Red Sox were the team in Boston.
Even football in general, though, like
football wasn't as big as it is now.
The last 20 years has been huge,
and basketball wasn't as big. It was big. I shouldn't say that.
I was gonna say that late 80s was like.
But in Boston, basketball wasn't. Boston. Forget in 08. The year before, they were a seller team. They were terrible. Doc was about to be fired. Paul was wanted out. Like basketball was not big in Boston.
Is that when the Big 3 trade happened?
Yeah.
08? Okay.
08 was when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. The year before that, Paul wanted to be. That's why I get mad at. Like I'm more of a KG guy than a Paul Pierce guy because Paul, even though he stayed with us so long, he wanted out. Like he always asked to be traded. So I don't. This happens all the time.
You get so animated and you get aggressive and.